Hey, what's up Yoon-Fam? It is I, Mark Yoon, and today I'm bringing another hopefully exciting video. So what I got for you today is probably going to be my most disliked video to date, so we got some spicy info. So hopefully that's not the case and people see where I'm coming from, but I do want to make this known. So I've been a big proponent of Hwang being the character that is in the teaser for DLC 13, and I've given ample reason to why I believe that, and I've given different inclinations as towards my opinion on the character and stuff like that. But what I haven't done is given you in full detail the reason why I don't want it to be Algol. I've mentioned this in some comments before, but never to the fullest extent that I could in a video format, so I'm just going to go ahead and get that out of the way. But I want to preface this by saying first and foremost that it's not that I don't like Algol. I think Algol is an awesome character, and I like his playstyle a lot, especially with his chair attacks and like the giant orb blasts that he does, as slow as they may be sometimes. It creates good setups for juggling, but I even like the character's backstory, and the Hero King deserves to be back in the Soul Calibur franchise. So with that being said and getting that out of the way, let me tell you why I don't want it to be the character in DLC 13. First and foremost, whether you actually believe that Algol is a final boss or a main antagonist is besides the point. He was introduced into the series as the main antagonist for that game, being Soul Calibur 4. He's currently been in Soul Calibur 4, Soul Calibur 5, and Soul Calibur Broken Destiny on the PSP. And in those titles, he's usually the main antagonist. Now, Soul Calibur 5 is a little bit different because he is brought in as DLC, but this is only because he was already introduced in Soul Calibur 4. Now, remember, Soul Calibur 6 is a soft reboot, so be it not whether that old timeline exists anymore. In this timeline, that's not where we're going from, and there's nothing to suggest that Algol is outside of space and time and that he's the same Algol that he would be in that timeline. If he is, he could be trapped in the astral plane or something like that, but for all intents and purposes, we're going to move on like this is the first introduction of the character. Especially because a lot of people, this is their first game, for Soul Calibur that is. So similarly how we have people that have misunderstandings about Hwang Sung-young who didn't play Soul Blade or Soul Calibur 1 or Soul Calibur 2 or Soul Calibur 3. And a lot of people start with Soul Calibur 4 mainly because of the Star Wars guest characters and stuff like that, or possibly because of age, how old they were at the time when they first got into gaming. But without that being said, Algol deserves more than to be thrust into the spotlight last minute in a Season 3 final character DLC before Season... what did I say 3? I meant 2. Before Season 3 comes out. So Season 2, not only do we have the character codes in the data files for that, and if Algol were to be in the game, some have argued that he is the star code, which would be the final character in Soul Calibur 6 Season 3 DLC, but I don't believe that's the case, and I've made my case known before. But he is a main boss antagonist. So if we're going to introduce him into the series to all of these characters who have no inclination as to who he is, because even Cassandra, who's had talks with her previous self from the previous timeline, still doesn't know anything really about Algol. Particularly, it was more about stuff having to do with Patroclus and all that stuff. I'm sure that like he was probably mentioned, but it's not like the character was ever introduced to Cassandra anyway, so she wouldn't even know what she's dealing with. This character deserves to be given full rights as a main baddie, and in order to do that, we need to introduce him into the story. So, for these DLC characters, the main cast ones anyway, the only thing that we get is a Soul Chronicle that accompanies them, which introduces the character with their backstory or whatever in this timeline and tries to kind of lead towards what's going to happen in the future. And a lot of the times these are pretty much like an hour of gameplay. A lot of text and a lot of stuff like that to establish the character into the timeline. But mainly this is characters that are already pre-existing in the timeline, just haven't been shown in the main story. As we know, Algol is majorly hinted at in Libra of Souls mode and in Soul Chronicle. Aswell's ultimate goal is being shadowed by somebody, and his goal is going towards creating this ultimate seed, which is going to birth the artificial swords, which you could see coming into clashing with Algol. But whether that be the case or not, even though he is foreshadowed, I believe it is foreshadowing. So I think that they're setting him up for being the main character, or the main bad guy that is in Soul Calibur 7. And we might see it come to blows between Aswell and the Hero King himself. Now, whether that comes out either way for either character is yet to be seen. I can't imagine Algol would have too much problem with Aswell unless he's in his fully manifested state or whatever, but we still don't know the full extent of Algol's abilities. But we also in this game have Aswell, and I don't think that their playstyles are similar at all. The only similar things between the two characters is the fact they both use a version of Soul Edge and Soul Calibur, but we've seen multiple characters use the same weapons that play completely differently, and they would be no exception. But I think it would distract from the character to introduce him in a way where he's just dropped via paid DLC as the last character of Season 2, which he would have no part of the story, or he would have no part of Libra of Souls outside of his actual being mentioned already. And I think it would be a much bigger deal. So the reason that I don't want Algol in Soul Calibur 6 DLC is because I think he pretty much deserves more. I think he deserves his own spotlight. I think if he is going to return as the main antagonist or the main bad guy of Soul Calibur 7, then this setting up is proper to set up that arrival, but just dropping him in DLC is kind of a waste. Not to mention the fact that it would detract from the characters that are already being released, because if you are releasing all these legacy characters that you want us to be reintroduced in this timeline, and then you drop a main bad guy like that when a lot of people only played 4 and 5, then you're going to take away from that. I believe the hype should be built up for him. I really think the character should return, and I do like a lot of aspects about the character. But as far as I'm concerned with him coming back in DLC 13 in particular, I don't really want to see that happen, and I think it would be a wasted opportunity if it is the case. If it is, I mean, more power to them. I'd be happy with more character creation parts and better styles for character creators, and it'd be cool to have him in and play as him for the last life legs that this game has before we move on to Soul Calibur 7 or Season 3. But before then, I don't know. I just, I'm not too keen on the idea of them bringing him back just to waste him in a Soul Chronicle. And even if the Soul Chronicle is there just to set him up, the fact that he would be in the game would kind of throw things off in the, in the first point, because it would kind of take away from the umph of Soul Calibur 7. Now, if Soul Calibur 7 gets announced and we find out that Algol is the main bad guy, all those Algol fans, including myself, are going to be really hyped for that character returning, especially on next gen with better engine, better graphics, maybe a better moveset, and we can build up all the hype that we possibly want. But if he's just dropped in this DLC, nobody's really going to give a crap if he shows up in Soul Calibur 7, at least from a story standpoint or from an umph standpoint, like a hype. This is something that needs to be built up, which is why I think they were doing that in Libra. And when it comes to fruition, I guess we'll see. But that being said, guys, whether or not the character is who it is in DLC 13, we'll find out soon enough. I think the EU tournament for Soul Calibur is ending on the 29th, so we should be able to find out something around there. I'm sure they're going to do a trailer drop on Twitch or whatever, a stream or whatever. But we'll find out, I guess, soon enough. But with that being said, we're going to bring this video to a close. I want to thank you guys for watching and listening. Subscribe for more awesome fighting game content, majorly Soul Calibur. And I want to remind you guys that the putting in your votes for the Halloween contest ends Wednesday, so that I can tally them to make the video on Thursday for Friday. So if you haven't yet watched that video or cast your vote, I would implore you to go do so, so we have as many votes as possible for the people that participated in the story. So once again, guys, thank you for watching and listening, and as always, I love it. Thank you.
And thank you.